Good evening, gallery councillors and staff. Welcome to the May Ordinary Meeting of the Richmond Valley Council. I'll open the meeting with the acknowledgement of country. Richmond Valley Council recognises the people of the Bundjalung Nations as custodians and traditional owners of this land, and we value and appreciate the continuing culture, connection to lands, their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region in the past, present and future. Mr General Manager, could you say the prayer, please?
Dear Lord, we meet to serve our Richmond Valley community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, and to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognise our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Amen. Item 4 on the agenda is apologies, and unfortunately tonight we have 3 apologies from Deputy Mayor Morrissey, Councillor Cornish and Councillor Humphreys. Could I get a mover to accept those, please?
Yeah, I'll move.
Councillor Hayes, second. Councillor McGillan. Put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. Page 6, item 5, mayoral minute. I'll move that if I can get a seconder, please.
Yeah,
Councillor Deegan. Councillors, this is pretty explanatory, but I also have some further supporting information that has been provided to me, which the Casino Courthouse deals with the following matters: criminal, police-related apprehended violence orders, non-police related apprehended violence orders, civil matters, council prosecutions, and family law and consent orders. The courthouse has been closed since the floods in February 2022. Initially, matters were being dealt with at the Kyogle Court and now in the Lismore Local Court. It is a burden and added cost to have to deal with these matters outside of casino. Unfortunately, this cost has to be passed on to the clients, where before a matter may take an hour, it can now take up to half a day with the added travel time. It is worth noting that many of the matters dealt with at the Casino Local Court are through the Legal Aid Commission and the Aboriginal Legal Service. There is a limited public transport in our area, and many of these people either do not own a motor vehicle or have a licence, which causes added pressure and the cost to those disadvantaged in our community. It should be a priority of the state government to open the Casino Local Courthouse as soon as possible, as an extended delay will continue to burden the legal profession and all of those who use our court in casino. Is there any other discussion? I don't need a right or reply. I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Page 8, 5.2, other mayoral minute. Significant increase in emergency services levy. Councillors, as you know, the government gave a subsidy recently, but looking at reimposing that, there is a push from the local government organisation and a lot of councils to put a submission to the government and to ask them to defer this for at least another year. Also, it would be good if they had a line item on the rates notices when they went out. So I'll move that. I have a seconder. Councillor McGillan.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Page 10, item 6. Confirmation of the minutes. Could I get a mover to confirm the minutes, please? The accuracy.
I'll move.
Councillor Hayes, seconder. Councillor Deegan. No. Everyone keen with the accuracy of the minutes? I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Item 7, matters arising out of the minutes. Has any councillor got any matters arising?
Yeah, I have.
Councillor Hayes?
I'd just like to ask the General Manager if we had that address by Mrs Hundy at the last meeting about the supermarket situation in Woodburn, and we've also had questions on notice, which I put a question up about what the Reconstruction Commission was doing to try and re-establish a supermarket in Woodburn. I'm just wondering if you've heard anything. I know you've written to him, but...
Yeah, so we wrote to David Witherden, the CEO of the Reconstruction Corporation. I also sent that to what's now the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority, and the coordinator for our region is now Dean Betts. So that letter was provided initially to Mr Witherden and was forwarded on to Mr Betts. I've followed up with both of them to see whether we can get a response and when we can expect that. I haven't got an answer at this point in time. Both did acknowledge that they'd received the letter and would make inquiries, but I don't have any further update at this point in time.
I'll just add to that, over the next page is my attendances, and on the 4th of May we met with the Minister, Paul Scully, at Moolumbar. He's the Minister for Planning and Open Spaces, and I went around the table to all the different councils and I raised this issue with him. And member for Lismore, Janelle Saffin, she said to him, the IGA, so apparently she might have mentioned it too. She's fully aware of it, so we are trying the best we can. Any other matters? Declarations of interests? Nil. Petitions? Nil. Notice of motions? Nil. On page 11, Mayor's report, I'll move that with a change before I ask for a second, and that's the 10th of May, the Corrokai Golf Club meeting. I did not attend that. Thank you. Any questions? Put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Delegates' reports, page 12. There's one there from Rouse Council. I'll move that. Could I get a seconder, please?
Yeah, I'll second.
Councillor Hayes. Any questions? Put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Page 16, item 13, matters determined without debate. Has any councillors got any items they'd like to discuss? No calling. I'll call 14.1, 17.1, 17.3, and I believe that leaves 17.2. Could I get a mover for 17.2, please? Councillor Deegan, seconder.
Yeah, I'll second.
Councillor Hayes. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. 14.1. Page 17. I'll move that. Will you seconder, please? Councillor McGillen. Mr General Manager, I might get you to give us an overview of the draft community strategic plan, please.
Yeah, happy to do that, Mr Mayor. So community strategic plan is obviously a key document for every council to have. Sets the vision and objectives for the community, and in this case the plan is through until 2040. We delayed the preparation of ours, so we were due to do this by 30 June last year. We'd already commenced consultation prior to the 2022 floods, so we're in the process of preparing that. Obviously when the floods hit, we turned our minds and our resources to supporting our community to recover. At that time we wrote to the Premier and advised that that was the approach that we were looking to take, and that was accepted. So we've moved forward, obviously supporting our community. We then re-engaged with the community when we were able to late last year, and have continued with the community consultation that has fed into the development of this plan. So a lot of work has gone into that: surveys, consultation sessions, online engagement, plenty of views, and that's come together in a really a good plan for our future. But it's now at the point where, again, we put this out to the community to seek and provide another opportunity for comments and feedback. So tonight it is to adopt this for consultation, similar with the delivery program that has been prepared to support that. Delivery program specifically sets out what council is going to do to achieve and contribute to delivering those objectives that we've identified are a priority for our community. So that's the aim tonight. What the community strategic plan focuses on are 4 key directions. The first one being to strengthen the Richmond Valley's role in the Northern Rivers region. That obviously acknowledges that the 2022 floods have changed the dynamics across the Northern Rivers, and we believe, and our community is supportive, that the Richmond Valley has a stronger role to play in the future growth and employment and support, including government services and other investment to play that stronger role in supporting the region. Second one is around creating great places to live, and we've certainly done plenty of that with investment right across the Richmond Valley over the last half a dozen years or so. Improved our riverside parks, public spaces, community amenities and infrastructure like the Northern Rivers Livestock Exchange. So it's about strengthening the community connections, encouraging our relaxed lifestyle and building the resilience for our community in obviously a changing climate, but also working to improve our infrastructure. We've certainly got a task there with the damage from the floods, but we are tackling that head on. Third one is around protecting our unique environment. So we're supporting the preservation of biodiversity in bushland, looking at ways to protect our local waterways, rivers and beaches, and also looking at opportunities around the circular economy and what we can do with future waste management in our area. The final one really comes from a lot of feedback also from our staff, and what really matters to them is that we deliver for our community. So that highlights the role that council plays, but so many other organisations and non-government organisations, community organisations in providing services to our community. So they're the 4 priority areas within the community strategic plan. So the report tonight seeks your endorsement of these draft plans to go out for consultation for 28 days. It gives our community another opportunity to provide feedback in the way of submissions. So we will be communicating this broadly over the next couple of weeks. I encourage the community to review these documents and give us any further feedback that they feel we would benefit from knowing. So that's a summary and overview of this report, but obviously 2 key documents that will drive what we do as a council over the next 10 years or so, as far as the community strategic plan goes, and the delivery program for the rest of this elected term.
Thank you. I believe it's a very, very good document. It's precise and written in plain English, which I think the community really likes. As the General Manager said, there's been a lot of public consultation. I do like the start of it where it says rebuilding the Richmond Valley. We all know what we've been through in the last 4 to 5 years, and then you go on to key strength, challenges, and I like the word opportunities. There's a great story in the strategic plan, and I look forward, along with the councillors, working with the staff and the community to fulfil that over this term of council. Any other councillors like to comment? No? All right, then I'd just like to say that thank you to everyone, all the staff members and the community also for putting our ideas out there and giving us some feedback for the plan. And well done to all the staff involved. I'm looking forward to the feedback now after the public consultation period. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. Item 15 on page 21. Oh, sorry, the 15 there was community service delivery nil, and 16 projects and business development nil items, 17 organisational services. Mr General Manager, I believe we have a couple of presentations from the Organisation Services Department.
Yeah, so obviously we've got some important financial documents this evening, in particular the quarterly budget review, which assesses where we're up to with the current financial year. And the other one is our operational plan and our budgets for the next financial year. So these have been prepared and are drafts of what will now go on public consultation. So again, this information, the full information of the proposed budget, will be made available publicly for the community to review and comment on. So we're following our usual process of preparing a draft and putting that out for consultation. So we've now got Hayley Martin, who is going to give us an overview of both the draft operational plan and also our quarterly budget review statement. So I'll hand over to Hayley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. So I'll take you first through the draft budget for 23-24, followed by an update on the March quarterly budget review. Some key assumptions surrounding our income for next year. Our rate peg, we've been advised, has been 3.7%, so that has been applied to our general rates revenue for next year. Our waste annual charges, domestic and non-domestic, we're proposing to increase by 5%, which is largely around a continual increase in operating costs in those areas. And water and sewer annual charges are also 5%. User charges and fees, we're proposed to increase by 3%. For expenditure, salaries, we're still awaiting notification of the local government award, which is due to come into effect from 1 July this year. It's still currently under negotiation. So we've assumed a 4% increase over the following 3 years, and that will be amended once we're advised. Electricity, we've assumed a 5% increase, and materials and contracts 2.5%. Our insurance premiums have been notified, and that's an increase of 21%, and 2.5% has been assumed for all other expenditure. Our total operating revenue for next year is $72 million, and our total operating expenditure is $74 million, with an operating result before capital of $1.4 million loss. Capital grants and contributions are $11.7 million, with a total operating result of $10.2 million. The capital works program for next year is currently at $39 million, which is an estimated funding result of a deficit of $9 million, which is funded $9.2 million from reserves, leaving a $212,000 cash result. The major capital works for 23-24, we've got $2.7 million in real estate development, $5.5 million in tourism, $7.7 million for sports grounds, parks and facilities, $8.2 million for roads, $756,000 for stormwater infrastructure works, $3.1 million for water, and $3.2 million for sewer infrastructure renewals, $4.6 million for waste, and $2.5 million for fleet. Moving into the March quarterly budget review, we've got An increase in operating revenue of $3.4 million up to $86 million. An increase in operating expenditure of $3.8 million, bringing the total up to $81 million, leaving an operating result before capital of $49 million. Capital grants and contributions have increased $5 million to $33.9 million, with an operating result from continuing operations of $38.9 million, which is an improvement of $4.5 million. The capital budget for this year has decreased by 1.2, following a review of the program of works, down to $52.8 million. The estimated funding result for this year is a surplus of 2.4, with 2.1 million going back into reserves, leaving a cash result of 287,000. The major changes in income for the March review, we had an increase of $2.4 million in waste management operating expenditure due to funding being received from the Public Works for the transportation of waste post the February flood event, and that's just to bring the budget in line with the actual expenditure incurred. We had an increase of $1 million in financial services to realign the budget with the actual interest returns on investments received this year to date, due to high interest rates in the economy, and a $925,000 increase in operating income and expenditure as a result of the emergency flood repair works on Council's road network post the February 22 flood event, along with some funding received under the Fixing Local Roads Pothole Repair program. Some major changes in the capital program. We had a $1 million decrease in capital grants and expenditure for the Northern Rivers Rail Trail, as that program will continue into next year, and a decrease of $2.1 million for the casino showground as well, which will continue into next year. A $2.2 million increase in the scheduled roadworks due to emergency restoration works being undertaken as a result of the March and February flood events. The major changes during this quarterly review are largely as a result of grant funding and a comprehensive review of the Capital Works program. The Capital Works program has decreased by $1.2 million to $52.8 million. There is still a risk of the delivery of the Capital Works program may be further impacted by contractor availability and supply chain issues. This will be monitored for the remainder of this year. Overall, Council's projected financial position at year-end remains satisfactory. Any questions?
Thanks, Hayley. Our principal accountant. I wanted to make sure I got it right.
Councillors, page 21, item 17.1, quarterly budget review statement. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor McGillen. Seconder?
Yep, I'll second.
Councillor Hayes. Any councillors? No? I'll put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Now move to page 28. Draft Operational Plan 2023-2024, including draft financial estimates 2023 to 2027, draft revenue policy 2023 to 2024, and draft long-term financial plan 2023 to 2033. I'll move that. I'll call it, so I'll move it. Seconder? Councillor Deegan. Mr. General Manager, on page 29, up the top in the third column, operating result before capital grants and contributions, we're working a good way down from the 1.4 million down to 876, then we go to 158, but in 2026-27 we jump back up to 897,000 deficit. We were heading in the right trajectory. Why does that occur? Could you just let me know, please.
Yeah, so that's in the forward years. The main contributing factor there is we have, as you're aware, we've identified the need for a new sewage treatment plant for Casino, and we're certainly chasing funding to support that from both federal and the New South Wales government. But we have provisioned in our long-term financial plan an allocation of $20 million towards that. It is likely to cost at least, potentially 50 to 60 million. So obviously we have built that into our long-term financial plan to borrow those funds in that year, and the impact on the budget is then from the principal and interest repayments. So that's why that, I suppose, that trend of getting that operating result to zero, to break even, which is what we've been striving to get to. We've had to make, I suppose, that decision to prioritise that piece of infrastructure, which is obviously a long-term investment, but that's what is the main factor in that figure climbing back up by just over the 700,000.
Thank you. And on page 30, major capital works, the third paragraph down at the end, it's, it reads, sorry, second paragraph, it is estimated that these claims will total over 180 million from the Transport of New South Wales. Is there any indication when that the decision or okay will come through for those projects? I know that statewide they have a lot of these claims that they're going through. I just thought of any idea.
So we've done the emergency works and the immediate reconstruction works. So there's sort of three phases to that program. So it's emergency, immediate reconstruction works, and then what is called essential public asset reconstruction works, referred to in the industry as EPARs. And so we have a large number of those submitted at the moment to Transport for New South Wales, as do obviously all affected councils from natural disasters across New South Wales, but certainly a high volume in the Northern Rivers. They need to be approved by Transport for New South Wales before you can get on with the works. So we are currently working, our team, our disaster recovery team, are working closely with Transport New South Wales to get those approved. We're getting to the point where we need that to happen now, so that we can get on with continuing to fix our road network. We currently have estimates that the total bill for all of those works is around $180 million, and that does include projects like the Norton's Gap slip, the Bentley Road slip. We're currently working on the one out at Pickapeen. So some of those have conditional approval so that we can continue on. Obviously the Norton's Gap slip is also been benefited by some betterment funding. So we're continuing to work on getting that job underway. We've got the final design report in. Our aim, as is in one of the other reports within this business paper, is to go to tender in June with the aim of that tender and hopefully a successful tenderer coming back to the August meeting so that we can get on with the job. All going well, and with some good weather on our side over that 12-month construction period, we'd like to be in a position to have that road reopened by August, September 2024. We know that's a road closure that has frustrated our community for a long period of time, as it has us, but we have been working through a process that we have to. It's obviously a big job, and we have to secure the funding to enable us to get on with that job. So that's just one example of many jobs that we have to fix right across the Richmond Valley.
Thank you. Any other questions or speakers?
Yeah, I've got a
Councillor Hayes.
bit of a broad one. all these documents, we've got our operational plans, we've got our delivery program, we've got a summary in here, and we've got all these key projects for 23, 24. And I notice in there that there's small amounts of stuff there mentioned for the lower river towns of Coraki, Woodburn, Evans Head. Very little mention for Broadwater. I understand that we've got, we haven't done our place plans down that way, and you know, all the work that's going on with the Reconstruction Commission, and I know we're waiting to see what the outcomes of that are. What's installed for the lower river and particularly Broadwater in the next couple of years? I've asked questions before about the Broadwater Bridge. I think that's important. I'm just wondering if there's any in the forward budgets. Has there been any planning towards that project, and how long away is it basically?
Mr. General Manager.
Yeah, so the Broadwater Bridge is fully designed and shovel ready, and is likely to cost, you know, in the vicinity of 3 or 4 mil. Important to note that it's a shared asset. It's a boundary bridge, and so it's a 50-50 project with Lismore Council. We are at the moment, obviously with the government changes, waiting for hopefully some new bridge renewal programs, and that will be well placed in that. So to get that bridge fully back in action, it's obviously an inconvenience at the moment with the setup that's in place. And we know that that's having an impact, and it's also having an impact on the Broadwater community itself with, I suppose, some changes in traffic movements that are coming from that, and a couple other restrictions in the area. But it's also sort of linked to that, and I suppose we've got a package really of bridge works that we need to secure funding for, because as you're aware that the Tatham bridges, we've got some significant issues there. We're needing to invest some funds in some short-term works there which are underway, and that the aim of that is to be able to get it back to two-way traffic. It is likely to continue to have a load limit on it. But again, what we've got a fully designed package of works to build basically 2 new Tatham bridges on an adjusted alignment. So that will enable us to build the new bridges while continuing to use the existing. It's always a challenge when you're trying to build something new that, especially a bridge, you're basically best to build it on a different alignment so that you can continue to operate while you build it, given that it's likely to take, you know, at least 12 months, 2 years, because it's going to be a big job. Again, it's in the range of probably 15 to 20 mil to get those 2 bridges. So high on our priority list is to secure funding. The Tatham bridges in particular were certainly damaged from flooding. We had identified that they were getting towards end of life, but the floods last year have certainly shortened that horizon for us. So yeah, they're a package of works. So yeah, definitely that bridge is important to the Broadwater community. I think it's important for us to note that, you know, while if we look at these lists, there may not be specific things, you know, in certain parts of our communities, but I think if you reflect over the last few years, there's been a lot of investment, you know, into Broadwater and into a lot of our communities. So looking at lists in isolation can sometimes not quite give the full picture, whilst also recognising that it is important we continue to support all of our communities, and we'll continue to do that.
Just a little bit more information around the place plans. I read in there where there's one not far off for Evans Head. Is there going to be place plans for Coraki, Woodburn and Broadwater eventually? And what might come out of them? What do we expect to come out of them?
So the answer is yes, there will be. What might come out of them? I'd suggest, so for people to understand what a place plan aims to achieve, have a look at the casino place plan and what it, which is available on our website. So that sets out what a place plan is, what it identifies, and we will be doing that, and it's identified in our community strategic plan and our delivery program as a priority. They will commence later this year. We are potentially looking to do them as a job lot, so that we can get them moving, do the consultation with the community, identify the opportunities for all of those communities, so that it sets a clear direction for the future. And so the aim is to do that for Evans Head, Broadwater, Woodburn and Corrikai.
I just flicking through a few of those items that you raised about a lot happening up in the upper area of the Richmond. A lot of those are sewer related, and as you'll recall, it was $20 or $30 million spent down in the lower river to service Broadwater, Woodburn and Evans Head, and that was also contributed by the casino ratepayers, as now at casino sewage works needs upgrading. It's at least 70 or 80 year old, so it's just time for that to happen. The other thing is a lot of the other projects there, they cover the whole council area, whether it be fleet management plant purchases, that's for the whole council area. The rural roads are for everywhere in the council area, you know, so it's a lot of it's sewer roads renewals, that's for the whole area. So Reynolds Road Bridge, that's out for the rural people. Yeah, so there is the lower river stuff down there in this on page 30, but it's for the whole council area, not just the upper or the lower, it's the whole council area, and that's how I like to look at it. So, any other councillors? Put that motion, and all those in favour? Carried. And thank you for your presentation, Mrs. Martin. You've done a good job. Thank you. Page 32, item 19, matters for information. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Deegan, seconder.
Yeah, I'll
Councillor
second.
Hayes. Councillor Deegan.
Yeah, I'll just mention the Woodburn Riverside streetscape design. I think that's an important project for particularly the people of Woodburn. I think since the floods they have really suffered, and it's good to see a few businesses coming back down there and a couple of new shops coming forward. So, and this project will just add to the, I guess, the atmosphere there down in Woodburn, and as it says, hopefully attract more people off the highway down there in the Woodburn area.
Councillor Hayes.
It's hard to believe that it was, the master plan was done in 2017. That's, time's just flowing. You drive past there and think that's only appeared there in the last couple of years. It's been there for quite a while now. And look, I'm happy to see it progress, and we can chase funding for it once we get these plans in place and the design work's done. I just wonder if someone can comment on, it says on page 35, it is important that the project is advanced for the Woodburn community. Considering this though, there also needs to be awareness and consultation with the Northern Rivers Reconstruction Corporation, who are key stakeholders for any recovery type infrastructure. What type of recovery infrastructure would there be based around that? And they also, just while we're going, they mentioned Transport for New South Wales in there too. Like in that design process, it's more than likely that road will be passed on to us, and they won't have any input whatsoever.
Mr. General Manager.
Happy for Director Zeller to respond to that one.
Yep. That was just a general statement to say that any plans that we might come up with, I think it would be in our best interest to just be aware of the work of the Reconstruction Corporation overall in Woodburn. Wasn't intended on anything specific. It's just something that we need to probably consider in the process going forward. Is just keeping them in the loop, as we would hope they would if there was anything of note in Woodburn that they were undertaking. So.
Just to add to that, just from memory, I'll just check the Chief of Staff, that they did talk about doing adaptation plans at some point in time for the flood affected communities. So I think that was also just to make sure that when they are doing those, that we're working with them and that we're not, you know, we're not at odds with each other. Same thing applies with the place plans when we're doing them. So any of the works that we're doing, we will make sure we communicate clearly to them what our aims are, and I think they'll be supportive if we're doing this work. Potentially we're doing some of the work for them, so they'll come along for the ride.
Councillor Hayes?
They mentioned a couple of community meetings there. Is that something, I know council will be involved, but most of the business people will be invited to them? I'll be very aware that they're going on, no doubt.
Yeah, certainly will, and we'll also obviously work with a consultant as to the format of those meetings. So with these sorts of design and ideas, it'll probably be similar sorts of workshop type setups, you know, where you have the opportunity for one-on-one conversations and ideas boards, similar to what we did with the urban growth management strategy and place plans. But yeah, definitely an opportunity for people to have input, and obviously importantly the business community who have shops and operate along that stretch.
I think keeping in contact with those government agencies is a great idea. These communities in the Lower River have really been hit hard, and any funding opportunities or assistance we could get from the government, it's the only way that some of these businesses are going to come back stronger and better. And the park, as you know, Councillor Hayes, you were part of that, was put there to help attract more tourism after the deviation of the highway. So yeah, anything we can leverage with those government departments for the betterment of those small villages, I think it's beneficial to everyone involved. Any other items in matters of information? Just on page 53, I noticed the report there, the RBC roadwork is 1,175 kilometres, consisted of 553 seal roads and 621 seal, and it's pretty daunting when you read that approximately 75 of those seal and unroad, 75% of those seal and unsealed roads were impacted by the floods. If you just do some quick figures, I think there's over 850 to 900 kilometres been damaged in those floods of our road network. And you stretch that out, that's way down past Sydney, Wollongong, or from here. So to have 80% of that work of all unsealed roads repaired, I think that's a very good effort by not only the council staff but the contractors, because it was a big damage bill and a lot of work. And I know people are still waiting for some of their roads, but I think the outcome of that and the response has been fantastic, and I go to drive other areas, and I think this council's done a great job in getting on with the job. Any other items in matters for information? I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Page 56, item 20, questions on notice nil. Is there any questions for the next meeting? Item 21 in writing? No. This brings us to our closed council item. I need a mover to go into closed council. Get a mover, please. Councillor Hayes, seconder. Councillor Deegan. Mr. General Manager, has there been any written representations made regarding this meeting going into closed council?
No, none received.
Any objections from the gallery? Nil. I'll put. Good night. Thank you very much for coming. I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Mr. General Manager, could you or organise someone to read the resolutions from closed council, please?
I'll hand the first one to Mr. Gator and the next one to Ms. Jones. Thank you.
Okay, for item 22.1, write-off of bad debt, council has resolved that it's recommended and council resolved that council write off the bad debt as detailed in the report.
Okay. In the matter of item 22.2, tender VP 351528 Illawong Lane drainage construction, council resolved that 1. Declines the submissions received for tender VP 315528 Illawong Lane drainage construction due to one submission price being higher than the budgeted allocated for the works, and the other one being a non-conforming tender. 2. Applies clause 1783E of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 to authorise the General Manager to enter into direct negotiations with suitably qualified contractors with a view to procure works that provide council with the best outcome, both from a financial and delivery perspective, and to finalise the terms of the contract or agreement and affixing the seal of council when necessary. 3. Approves the increased budget allocation for this project in accordance with the upper limit identified in this report. And 4. Notes that the outcome of the negotiations will be reported to council for information at a future meeting.
Thank you. That closes the meeting. Thanks for your attendance, and those travelling a long way out of casino, please drive safely. The roads are still a bit wet. Thank you. And thanks for everyone for viewing online.